Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, really peel back the layers, and hopefully bring you the most compelling insights. We try to add just enough unexpected fun, too. Today, we're plunging into a topic that genuinely stretches the limits of, well, what we thought we knew, unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs, and the strange documented health incidents linked to them, and even this mind-bending concept of psionic interactions. Our compass for this journey is the incredible work of a truly remarkable individual, Dr. Garry Nolan. You've provided us with transcripts of his interviews, and what makes him so unique is that he's not your typical figure in this field. Not at all. He's a top Stanford scientist, renowned for his groundbreaking, life-saving work in cancer research and immunotherapy.
And what's truly fascinating is how Dr. Nolan, a scientist with over 300 peer-reviewed papers, how he found himself right at the epicenter of this whole discussion. His path wasn't paved by belief, or it was this relentless commitment to applying strict scientific methodology to claims that, frankly, sound unbelievable. So our mission today is to really extract the crucial insights from these discussions. We want to help you understand not just what is being said, but why it profoundly matters and, the massive questions it raises about the very nature of our reality.
Okay, yeah. Let's unpack this. We're talking about alleged injuries that leave actual physical scars, unusual craft moving in ways we just can't explain, and even claims of direct mental influence. So get ready for a deep dive that might fundamentally challenge your perceptions of what's possible.
The scientist drawn into the anomalous.
So let's begin with Dr. Garry Nolan himself. When we say he's not your typical UFO researcher, we really mean it. He holds an endowed chair at Stanford. He's founded multi-million-dollar companies, driven breakthroughs in treating cancer. So how does someone like that, with such an established mainstream scientific career, end up involved in something so out there?
It's quite the pivot, isn't it? And it really speaks volumes about his scientific integrity, I think. Dr. Nolan's curiosity about the universe, it started early, apparently sparked by a National Geographic star map when he was just 8. And he had this lifelong love for science fiction, especially anything dealing with, detailed alien cultures. But his actual entry into UAP research, kind of ironically, was as a debunker. He was actually looking to disprove something.
Oh, right. The Atacama mummy. That was his entry point, wasn't it? What was that all about again?
Precisely. Yeah, the Atacama mummy. It was this tiny, perfectly preserved specimen and controversially claimed to be extraterrestrial. So Dr. Nolan applied his rigorous scientific toolkit, using advanced genomics, collaborating with other Stanford professors, and his findings, they were unequivocal. It was a human with severe genetic mutations, definitely not an alien. And this public demonstration of his commitment to objective, honest science, even though it disappointed some in the UAP community at the time, that was critical.
Okay. So he scientifically proved it wasn't an alien. And that specific act caught the government's attention.
Wow. Okay. This is where it gets really interesting.
Exactly. His reputation for meticulous, objective scientific analysis, it spread. And that led to an unannounced visit from some government individuals. They initially sought his expertise on inflammatory processes in blood, sort of his day job area, but the conversation quickly shifted. They revealed they were investigating these anomalous health incidents happening among pilots, intelligence community members, injuries possibly linked to UAP encounters. And his first reaction was like, this is a joke, right?
Okay.
A prank.
Absolutely. Yeah, he dismissed it as a joke. Until they presented him with the actual medical data. We're talking anonymized MRIs and CT scans that showed, in his words, clear and acute and now chronic damage. He recounts concluding, and this is a direct quote, "You can't fake the kinds of MRIs and CAT scans that I had seen." That unequivocal physical evidence that just fundamentally shifted his perspective. It convinced him this was a serious matter with real long-term consequences for the people exposed. And that's the moment, really. A world-renowned scientist became inextricably linked to this whole topic.
The physical scars, anomalous health incidents, AHIs.
Okay, so let's talk about these injuries then. This wasn't just anecdotal discomfort, people feeling unwell. Dr. Nolan was seeing measurable, actual lasting damage. Right. What did these injuries specifically look like?
Well, the patterns he observed were deeply concerning. He saw a range of specific symptoms. Things like whole body sclerosis, which are these patches of redness and hardening across the skin, and also dyscrasias of the blood. That means significant, unusual imbalances in white blood cell types, stuff you don't normally see. And these acute injuries, they frequently progressed into chronic conditions, particularly autoimmune disorders where the body essentially starts, attacking itself.
Right.
He also noted this profound, almost PTSD-like response. And interestingly, not just from the terrifying events themselves, but also from the glaring lack of long-term care and follow-through from agencies like the DoD and the VA.
That's rough. He mentioned specific physical signs, too, like hair loss and rashes that sound very distinct. Can you elaborate on those? What do they signal?
Yeah, he detailed migratory alopecia as a form of hair loss that doesn't follow typical patterns, but it actually moves across the body. Highly consistent with autoimmune reactions.
Wow, moves across the body.
Yeah. And then there was a vascular rash, characterized by small, often blister-like skin eruptions. Again, another clear sign of an autoimmune attack. And perhaps most surprisingly, some individuals developed chronic mucocutaneous candidiasis, which is a persistent yeast infection. Now, this wasn't just, a simple infection. It was a stark indicator of an underlying immune disorder or maybe a severe disruption in the skin's protective barrier. He describes these collectively as pointing to a general autoimmune disease, with dry lesions on hands and feet sometimes too, all signaling a profoundly disrupted immune system. It's like the body's defenses are just completely thrown off balance.
Okay, so seeing all this pattern, what did Dr. Nolan conclude was the most plausible cause? I mean, for these varied and persistent injuries. Where did his scientific analysis point?
Strikingly, yeah, given the extraordinary claims around UAPs, his medical analysis consistently pointed to consequential exposure to radiation of some kind. That was the easiest reach, scientifically speaking, for a cause.
Radiation.
Yeah. And this isn't just a hypothesis floating out there. It's a profound insight suggesting a very real physical interaction is occurring. It links the fantastic claims to a mundane yet dangerous scientific reality. He also noted atypical compound nevi. These are irregular brown spots on the skin, which are known markers for damaging radiation exposure.
It sounds eerily similar to Havana syndrome, right? Which has been in the news for years now. Is there a connection there?
A significant one, yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Nolan estimates that maybe 85 to 90% of the 100-plus individuals he examined had symptoms so similar to Havana syndrome that their cases could easily be classified under it.
That high. 85 to 90%.
Yeah. However, some cases, like that of Jake Barber he mentions, presented with especially long-term 20-plus year consequences of a disrupted immune system. That typically extends beyond what's widely reported as Havana syndrome. It suggests maybe a more profound or sustained exposure.
Okay. He also brought up the famous Rendlesham Forest incident from 1980, specifically the case of John Barrows. What did Dr. Nolan learn about that particular case?
He confirmed that John Barrows suffered an injury, allegedly from an anomalous object during that incident back in 1980. But what's crucial here, and kind of disturbing, is that the Department of Defense initially blocked Barrows' medical records, which severely hindered his ability to get care from the VA.
They blocked his records.
Yeah. It actually took direct intervention from Senator John McCain to finally overcome this bureaucratic obstacle and unseal Barrows' medical report. Dr. Nolan stated that move probably saved his life.
Wow, that raises a critical question about accountability, doesn't it? What about the ethics of sending personnel into situations where this kind of harm might occur?
Dr. Nolan, and he deeply respects military service, but he firmly believes in the ethics of do no harm. He views it as unethical or an administrative oversight to deploy young men and women into situations with dangerous, potentially radiating exposure without protective gear or without proper counseling on the risks, including potential harm to their future children. He stated flatly this needs investigation by Congress. But it's important to note he emphasizes that while he sees the damage and he sees its correlation with these alleged anomalous events, he hasn't seen direct proof of causation.
Right. Correlation isn't causation.
Exactly. He's working from stories that other people come to me with, as he puts it. But the medical data, that's undeniable.
Beyond the physical, the psionic frontier.
Okay, so we've just navigated some really compelling medical evidence. Stuff that grounds these claims in a stark physical reality. Damage you can see on scans. But what if the interaction isn't just physical? What if it involves, a realm we've barely begun to grasp, the mind itself? This leads us to perhaps the most provocative aspect of Dr. Nolan's insights, the idea of psionics. What exactly is psionics in this context, and why does he consider it such a, quote, game changer?
Yeah, psionics. As it's emerging in this field, it basically refers to the alleged ability to mentally interact with or even call UAP craft. Dr. Nolan highlights that this concept, it isn't actually new. Experiencers, as they're called, have claimed mental interactions for decades. And governments, including the U.S. military, have historically investigated such phenomena, like in the 1970s Stargate program, which looked into remote viewing.
Like Stargate.
So it's this leap from physical injury to, well, mental influence.
And he himself witnessed a summoning event, what actually unfolded there.
Yes, he was actually present at a location where an individual claiming psionic ability and another person using what they called electromagnetic summoning were attempting to attract an object. Now, Dr. Nolan personally didn't observe anything in the sky or on the ground at that specific moment, but he did note that the individual claiming the psionic ability was in visible distress. Like something was happening to them. And critically, a person positioned on the roof with specialized cameras did observe something fleeting at that exact moment. Something that was, quote, clearly not a bug.
Okay, so he saw the human reaction, the camera saw something, but still correlation, not direct causation.
Yeah.
But that's an incredibly intriguing observation, isn't it?
Precisely, yeah. Dr. Nolan's role there was purely scientific, to ensure accuracy and collect metadata for potential future scientific papers, not to confirm the phenomenon itself right then. He pointed out the area was restricted airspace, so that immediately ruled out commercial jets or ordinary bugs. And the fact that this group could operate so openly there, well, that suggested an established process for accessing such controlled areas, which is, another layer of the mystery right there.
And then there are these allegations, and they sound almost unbelievable, that the U.S. government might be secretly colluding with private corporations, actually using these psionic operators. What has Dr. Nolan heard about that?
Well, if true, Dr. Nolan describes it as probably one of the most extraordinary things I've ever heard. And that's saying something. He's heard accounts directly from individuals claiming involvement in such highly sensitive processes. And what's even more fascinating is how he connects this back to his own earlier, completely unrelated brain research.
His brain research, how does that connect?
Yeah, he found that the caudate-putamen region of the brain, it's a deep brain structure associated with things like intelligence and intuition, showed a neural density cluster, basically a higher concentration of neurons. And he found this in high-functioning individuals, including those who claimed exceptional abilities in, guess what? Remote viewing.
Wow, so like a potential biological marker.
Potentially, yeah. It suggests a possible biological basis for some of these extraordinary claims.
So, okay, if this psionics thing is real, what does it actually mean? Is it some kind of magic, or is there a scientific way to think about it?
Dr. Nolan is very clear. Absolutely not magic, no. Instead, he views it as a form of communication in physics that we don't quite yet understand. He directly relates it to concepts like quantum non-locality, which is, the spooky action at a distance idea, instantaneous, a causal interaction without any electromagnetic signal passing between points.
Okay, quantum stuff.
Right. He believes it's entirely plausible that an advanced civilization could have not only understood, but actually mastered such a technology. And this is why, he insists, these ideas have to remain on the table for rigorous scientific inquiry, not just dismissed out of hand because they sound strange.
The overwhelming evidence and unanswered questions.
Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Nolan even says he has no problem imagining a technology 1,000 years from now where even humans can interact with each other in some sort of pseudopsionic manner, which is a huge statement. This brings us to a really fundamental question. Given everything he's seen, all the data, the interactions, does he personally believe non-human intelligence exists or has visited Earth?
He's very careful with that word belief.
Right.
He says belief is for religion, science deals with evidence and probability.
Right.
But based on his interpersonal interactions and my summary of knowledge of the people that I work with, he's unequivocally convinced there's something here. That's his phrase, something here. He vouches for the credibility of individuals like Jake Barber, other military professionals he's met. He emphasizes they are not just a conveyor of somebody's goods, but are deeply knowledgeable. He sees them as true professionals who have directly witnessed something anomalous. And they're risking their lives, their reputations to bring attention to it, often facing, immense pressure.
But the government officially still issues statements denying definitive proof of aliens or specific UAP origins. What do you make of that disconnect? It seems huge.
Dr. Nolan points directly to what he calls a legalistically lawyerly verbiage game played by the government. They often state there's no proof that it's aliens, but they strategically avoid defining what alien even means. Like, does that exclude ultra-terrestrials, things from Earth, or interdimensional beings?
Careful wording.
Exactly. He sees direct efforts to disinform the public. He cites instances like the removal of whistleblower David Grush's security clearances and the leaking of his private medical reports. Dr. Nolan even shared a personal anecdote. He said he was personally threatened with lethal force for just an elliptical allusion, a hint about secret information.
Threatened with lethal force? Seriously?
That's what he said. And this, he argues, it begs a crucial question. Why do these people go to all of these lengths to hurt the ones who are coming out if there's nothing there?
Mm.
He passionately argues for amnesty for those holding information so they can come forward safely.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, the Tic Tac incident, it's so widely publicized, probably the most famous case. What does Dr. Nolan highlight about that event that makes it so significant, so compelling?
He really stresses the undeniable multiple corroborations. You have pilot David Fravor's direct visual sighting a trained F-18 pilot. Then you have clear radar signatures from multiple platforms, the Aegis cruisers, the planes, and even infrared, the FLIR data, that's the forward-looking infrared camera, picking up heat signatures.
Multiple sensors, multiple witnesses.
Exactly. And the object's astonishing anomalous movements, like dropping from 80,000 feet to the ocean surface almost instantly, or appearing at a rendezvous point, the CAP point, that they shouldn't have even known existed. Yeah. These are key. He also references other events, like Ryan Graves' sightings of a whole fleet of objects off the East Coast. And importantly, the data from these incidents. It was initially removed by unidentified individuals who showed up on the aircraft carrier, only later released by figures like Lou Elizondo. That points to information suppression.
Given those incredible observations, what are the leading hypotheses trying to explain the Tic Tac? What are people suggesting?
Well, one hypothesis is this blue-on-blue counterintelligence program idea. Basically, that false information was maybe inserted into radar systems to test their capabilities, like a military mind game, a test.
Okay.
However, the eyes-on visual corroboration from trained pilots like Commander Fravor, that significantly challenges this. You can't easily fake what multiple experienced pilots see with their own eyes.
Right.
So Dr. Nolan's conclusion from the Tic Tac and similar events like that 2-foot sphere observed hovering over Mosul, his conclusion is clear. There's a technology that we don't understand. Period. Full stop.
And what about actual physical evidence, like materials in our possession? Does anything point to something truly anomalous?
Well, Dr. Nolan actually published what he describes as the world's first peer-reviewed academic article on a UAP material, which is quite something. This was a piece of molten metal recovered after an incident in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Now, while he found nothing definitively extraterrestrial about its isotopic ratios or anything like that, its non-homogeneous mixture, meaning its components were strangely unevenly distributed, was scientifically fascinating.
Non-homogeneous, okay.
And he mentions claims from insiders, people supposedly in the know, that some recovered materials are engineered at the atomic level, meaning their very structure is built atom by atom, which is something he says we don't have anything like that, nothing close to it. Imagine building a material perfectly, atom by atom, for a specific purpose. That's the claim.
Engineered at the atomic level.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And this brings us to that broader, really profound question, the Fermi paradox. If advanced life is out there, why don't we see them? Where is everybody? Dr. Nolan offers some truly thought-provoking insights here. He suggests maybe we're looking in the wrong place, perhaps looking for traditional intelligence or life when we should be looking for consciousness.
Looking for consciousness. How?
Well, he posits that advanced civilizations might reside in unexpected, often hidden places, like inside suns maybe, or deep underground, deep underwater, places where they've learned to survive by being concealed. Our current detection methods, they're primarily electromagnetic radio waves, light. They're limited, especially if advanced civilizations use things like quantum teleportation or entanglement for communication, mechanisms that bypass electromagnetic signals entirely.
So we wouldn't even see their signals.
Exactly. It's like trying to catch fish with a butterfly net, he implies. Our tools might be wrong for the job.
So pulling all this together, I mean, what kind of universe would need to exist to explain all this? What are the on-the-table hypotheses for who or what this phenomenon could actually be?
Dr. Nolan entertains several possibilities beyond just conventional aliens from other planets. These are all on the table for him scientifically. He discusses interdimensional beings who could perhaps skip dimensions. Ultraterrestrials may be ancient Earth civilizations. He even speculates maybe intelligent dinosaurs who went deep underground or underwater long ago.
Intelligent dinosaurs. Okay, that's out there.
It is, but he keeps it on the table. Or even time travelers from our own far future. He emphasizes keeping these possibilities open to genuinely drive scientific inquiry, not limit it prematurely. He also points out something quite concerning, that the government's highly sophisticated sensor systems, things like NORAD, are often designed to filter out anomalous data. Anything outside known parameters gets ignored.
Filter it out. Why?
To avoid clutter, false positives. But it means anything truly unknown, truly novel, could potentially slip anything through the screen, as he put it. We saw that potentially with the Chinese balloons. It indicates a frightening vulnerability. He also highlighted Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet's work, focusing on transmedium crafts, objects that can move seamlessly between water, air, and space. Something he says we have nothing like that in our current known technology.
The path forward. Science, transparency, and future exploration.
Okay, so with all these extraordinary claims and this compelling, even if often correlative data, how does the scientific community, or maybe society in general, even begin to move forward with this? It feels overwhelming. Dr. Nolan co-founded something called the Soul Foundation. What is that and what's its mission?
Right, the Soul Foundation. It's a think tank he started with philosopher Peter Skafish and the whistleblower David Grush. Its core mission is really to professionalize the UAP discussion, to create a safe space, a fence line, as he calls it, where credible scientists can actually discuss these phenomena without risking their careers.
A safe space for scientists.
Exactly. He said it grew out of frustration with the, frankly, unscientific public discourse often surrounding this topic. The goal is to bring high-level expertise and formalities, things like rigorous, peer-reviewed white papers, to the table, on topics ranging from unidentified submerged objects, USOs, to the really deep philosophical implications for religion and society. The aim is to create a proper ecosystem for the field to progress, to legitimize the discussion and also, importantly, highlight the potentially extraordinary commercial opportunities if any of this technology could ever be understood.
Right, the technological implications could be huge.
Immense.
He also mentioned the Skywater Project. What exactly is that initiative focusing on?
Skywater is a donor-funded group. It's specifically focused on collecting hard scientific data on UAPs. This includes using, interestingly, electronic calling capabilities in conjunction with individuals who have prior crash retrieval experience, people who might have had direct exposure or interaction.
Electronic calling, like the summoning thing?
It sounds like it, yeah. The objective is simply to gather better pictures, better sensor data, and potentially achieve some form of contact or closer observation. But Dr. Nolan made it crystal clear that he only participates if there's absolutely no intent to shoot anything out of the sky. He cites the significant ethical and, frankly, practical risks of any kind of hostile engagement.
Good point. Safety first. Looking way ahead now, what are Dr. Nolan's absolute biggest dreams for future research? If budget and resources were just unlimited, if he could pursue anything in this area?
He identified two primary, really ambitious areas. First, materials understanding, which he believes demands nothing less than a Manhattan Project-level study, a massive focused effort.
Manhattan Project level.
Okay, yeah. This would involve investigating phenomena like programmable matter, this mind-bending idea of being able to rearrange material structure at the atomic level, or even manipulate the geometric structure of space itself. He directly references Jacques Vallée's provocative idea that maybe reality is negotiable for these intelligences, meaning they might be able to, quote, take a volume of space and make anything happen within it. It's physics far beyond our current grasp.
Wow. And the second area?
His second major area is consciousness. He believes understanding how our brains process information, especially the role of that caudate putamen region in intuition, could lead to manipulating brain states in profound ways. He envisioned stimulating the brain through various means, maybe psychedelic drugs like DMT or electromagnetic or ultrasonic stimulation, to potentially unlock new perceptions, new ways of understanding reality.
Stimulating the brain.
Yes, but he heavily stresses the critical importance of rigorous ethical review. IRB approvals, institutional review boards, absolutely essential for any human studies to ensure safety and responsibility above all else. No rogue experiments.
Of course, yeah. Ethics are paramount there. So, okay, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for us, for the listeners, as we try to navigate this often confusing, sometimes overwhelming landscape of information?
Dr. Nolan emphasizes that his role isn't really to convince anyone of anything specific. His goal is to encourage critical thinking. He challenges what he calls pseudo-skeptics, people who dismiss ideas outright without actually engaging with the evidence or the questions. His mantra, he says, is that a scientist is meant to be wrong every day, meaning we should constantly be testing hypotheses, adapting our understanding based on new data, not clinging to old ideas. His righteous indignation, as he puts it, stems from the belief that questions should be asked, And they should be vigorously pursued, not suppressed or ignored just because they're uncomfortable or strange. It's about maintaining an open, truly inquisitive mind in the face of the unknown.
It's really about being truly open to possibilities, isn't it? Even if they radically challenge our most fundamental understandings of physics or biology. It's about having the courage to ask, what if? Outro. Wow. Okay. What an extraordinary deep dive that was into the work, the thinking, the profound insights of Dr. Garry Nolan. We've journeyed from documented physical injuries, government obfuscation, all the way to the astonishing possibilities of psionic interaction and, well, the very fabric of reality itself.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, it seems abundantly clear we're standing at a thrilling, maybe slightly bewildering frontier of human knowledge. Dr. Nolan's message, I think, resonates powerfully. Don't just dismiss the unexplained. Instead, try to embrace it as an engine for scientific creativity and discovery. Ask the hard questions.
You've heard about the compelling evidence, the ethical dilemmas faced by those on the front lines, the whistleblowers, the service members, and the bold new scientific approaches being proposed. This isn't just about whether aliens exist, is it? It's about understanding potentially advanced technologies, the limits of our own perception, and maybe the extraordinary untapped potential of human consciousness itself.
So what stands out to you after hearing all this? Perhaps it's the sheer volume of credible reports from trained observers, or those perplexing injuries sustained by military personnel. Or maybe it's that profound thought that our own sensory filters, the way we perceive the world, might actually be hiding a broader, richer reality that's all around us all the time.
So what does it all mean? I guess it means the universe might be far stranger, far more complex, and maybe more intimately connected than we ever dared to imagine.
So consider this thought. If consciousness can indeed interact with or even, quote, bend reality, as some of these theories and observations suggest, what untapped abilities, what hidden perceptions might lie dormant within each of us, just waiting to be understood and perhaps one day unleashed? What new senses might we need to evolve or develop to perceive the full spectrum of reality that Dr. Nolan seems to be hinting at?